So tonight we have a special guest, but we're going to introduce ourselves here before we go too much further. We have on the far end here, working on
Mike.
this, Josh.
I'm Mike from Northern Knives and 3DK. I've been in a couple of these videos, so I imagine people know who I am at this
Unless
point.
nobody's actually bothered to watch it.
Yeah.
So pretty much nobody knows who I am, so I'm Mike from 3DK.
I'm Dakota. I'm their web admin, and I do various other online tasks. I'm the cancer on social media for this group.
And I'm Lori. I'm also an owner of Northern Knives.
And 3DK.
And 3DK.
Yep, working on some things.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And
She
stuff and
has
things.
things in the
Secret
hopper
things and stuff.
coming this April.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. And joining us this evening to go over and wax poetically on his specialty, we have...
My name's Jason, and I am a sous chef here in Anchorage, and
At a very prestigious steakhouse.
very prestigious steakhouse
Not very
within
far
the community.
down the road.
Not prestigious, but prestigious.
Yes, prestigious.
With steak knives that go.
Prestigious.
A fantastic, fantastic place. Are we doing introductions again?
No, we're not doing introductions again. This will be included in the video, by the way.
Oh, well, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. The less edits, the better. That's how I feel
totally.
about it.
So we're doing the right knife for
The right job.
The right
the
job.
right job.
All right, so basically what's important for choosing the specific knife for what you're doing is understanding what you're cutting and what's going to be the most effective and safe method of cutting that item for. So for example, let's say you're boning a chicken and you're cleaning the chicken off of the bones. You want to use a boning knife, which doesn't have a lot of give. You can tell on this knife it bends a little bit, but not so much.
Instead of a fillet knife.
Instead of a fillet knife, exactly. Because if you have a fillet knife, this is important for fish, because if you look, it bends like that. And the reason why you want that for the fish is because while you're filleting the fish, you have this down, and then you can then clean the skin off without ever taking the less amount of meat off of the skin.
Yeah.
Or also, if you're trying to get the meat off of the bones, you can feel the bones with a knife and then just go through the fish without ever getting any of the bones, or at least minimal amount of bones.
It's a lot of...
Do they run in different lengths? Because, I mean, some people feel like they can do a fillet job with a boning knife, but wouldn't you not maximize?
Yeah, like you're
Some
filleting
people-
like a carp.
Yeah, well,
What if you're in Alaska? I mean,
Yeah.
you need
I mean, some people are like, oh, I can do everything
Yeah.
with like a scimitar. It's like,
Well, I mean,
well, yeah. I mean,
To
if you want
be
to
fair.
be Salt Bay and
Yes.
ruin your product and ruin your yield, you can use a scimitar for, let's say, cleaning a tenderloin.
oh, there we go.
That is not what we want.
And
Well, maybe for heads. Fish heads.
Fish head, yeah, heads.
Eat them up.
Fish
yum.
heads is it's a better way to describe that, Mike. Rather than
depends.
just saying heads at
Heads.
first.
Well, okay, fish heads also works.
just the tip.
Yeah.
It's just the tip of
Just
the
the
fish head.
tip.
Fish lips.
So, but yes, basically, I mean, the boning knife is for meat products that you're not necessarily trying to be delicate with. So, for example, if I'm cutting fillet from a fillet tenderloin, or if I'm cutting any sort of beef, a boning knife is going to be a better option to clean with rather than, say, taking a fillet knife, because this is meant for delicate meat.
is there more precise, like fine-tuned versus fillets for?
It's more of an aspect of you're trying to create the best yield. So with a fillet knife, I'm going to get the most yield out of the fish. And you can have people sit there and say, oh, I can clean a fish perfectly with a boning knife. And while that might be true for them, I'm going to guarantee you that proper chefs will tell you that I can get a better yield. It might not be significant to you, but to me in a restaurant, it's significant.
I'm just saying
Well,
that
every
we get
percent,
these,
yeah.
we get these questions sometimes.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are like
Well,
what
you-
people
every-
ask.
I mean,
a couple
everything
ounces
counts.
over 200 steaks.
Right.
Well, a couple ounces, an
Is a couple
ounce
steaks.
every single fillet
Yeah.
Correct.
adds up.
Right.
Well,
and,
I mean, you can fillet a bluegill with a steak knife. They're this big. You know?
well, yeah, you could, but
and you
it's
might
not
get
going to be
fired
proper.
for using a boning knife on a fillet job.
So and then other aspects. I see a lot of people who, when they're at home cooking, they'll use, let's say, a boning knife, and they're gonna want to try and cut the top of an onion off, and they're just kind of working it like that. When in reality, your best option is going to be a chef's knife. You have more control. You're not having to worry about how small the blade is, and you just go straight through. Now,
Do you have a higher chance of cutting yourself using the wrong tool for the
you
job?
can, depending on what you're trying to cut. Absolutely, especially with like when we get into dicing this, what you're getting ready to do. You're trying to use this to try and dice something. The blade itself. If you look,
Well, it just
use
seems like
the
you're doing
Santoku.
just a lot of work.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of work, and you're going to be doing a lot of sawing, because the blade is not big enough to really just go through like a chef's knife will be able to do, or a
I
Santoku.
feel like you'll have more give, and it'll end up like an untuned bandsaw. It'll walk a lot more, and you'll really hate it.
Untuned
Right.
bandsaw.
Oh, then you guys spent an hour working on ours.
Ron Swanson's gonna really dig that comment.
Since we're
If he
going to
ever sees
be
this video.
we're going to be eating the salsa that I
You
make
want
here.
goggles?
We have the chips,
No, I'm
so we're
fine.
definitely gonna be.
We have some matchsticks. You can stick one in your mouth.
Oh no, it's fine.
A matchstick?
Yeah.
You know, I'm really,
What?
I'm actually really sensitive
So
to onions being cut. I didn't realize this until like about 2 years ago.
So you're gonna cry like a baby.
Yeah, I will.
here's the interesting thing about knives and onions. The sharper the knife, the less likely you are going to cry. Because
makes
a
sense.
dull
I
a
did
dull
not know that.
knife a dull knife is going to squirt the juices out.
So I don't need goggles anymore?
You shouldn't need goggles, but you already kind of have some on. But
Says,
like me.
says the pot to the kettle.
I think mine might be bigger though.
But I mean, I'm not going to be crying when I do this, because I know these knives are very sharp. If you start dealing with dull knives, you're going to start running into tears.
That
And
makes so much sense.
Yeah.
we're not trying to watch Schindler's List while we're cutting onions.
Are you sure?
I mean,
This onion sacrificed for a salsa.
that's true.
Liam Neeson is kind of. I've seen taken.